Applicants for the University of Oxford and the University of Cambridge have to go through a lot in order to stand a chance of getting their offers. The UCAS application, personal statements, admissions tests and more, and all of these steps are absolutely essential to getting your place, but none of them are as crucial as your interviews. For most, these are the final stage of the application process, and your performance in them will be one of the major deciding factors for admissions tutors when choosing who to send offers to. In this video, we're going to cover everything you need to know about the interview processes at both universities, as well as the best ways to prepare for yours. Let's start with the basics of the interview process. Although some specifics differ, the two universities handle interviews in roughly the same way. Oxford and Cambridge both hold traditional panel-styled interviews at the end of their admissions processes. These typically take place in the first 3 weeks of December and are usually held remotely via video call, excluding a handful of Cambridge colleges. Applicants should expect to attend at least 2 interviews during this period. Based on our research, interview performance typically accounts for about 40% of the overall decision-making process at Oxbridge. But why are they so important? Interviews are the most robust way to get a sense of the applicant's ability and demeanour, so it's no wonder that Oxford and Cambridge are keen to meet their most promising applicants face-to-face or screen-to-screen. Seeing these applicants react under different circumstances, some of which will accurately reflect the Oxbridge learning style, allows the faculty to get a more authentic view of each person they speak to. Personal statements can be edited to perfection, and the admissions test can be revised for over really long periods of time. So interviews really are the university's only chance to see you through a much more accurate lens, which could be a benefit or a detriment to the applicant, depending on whether they really are suitable for Oxbridge. Unlike admissions tests, every course at Oxbridge requires applicants to attend interviews to be admitted, although not every applicant will be invited. The shortlisting process takes place in November, when admissions tutors decide who to send their interview invitations to. This decision is based on a variety of factors, including grades, references, and the personal statement, as well as admissions test results or written work if applicable. Cambridge states they aim to roughly interview 70% of their applicants each year, which means that you'll have a really good chance of being invited. This percentage may vary dependent on the course, but this data isn't readily available. In contrast, Oxford publishes interview rates for every undergraduate degree on their course pages, so these are really easy to assess. Across the last 3 years, interview rates have ranged between 18% and over 90% depending on the course. As an overall average, the university interviews roughly 30% of applicants each year, a significant drop when you compare to Cambridge. But Cambridge has been a bit less competitive than Oxford in terms of offers and admissions for quite some time now, so this isn't too surprising. So, when should you expect to receive this invitation? The last admission tests of the year take place at the end of October, while written work submission deadlines are usually in mid-November. Since shortlisting decisions can't be made without all the pieces of the application available, that doesn't leave a huge amount of time to send invitations out to applicants. Now, remember, the interviews take place in the first 3 weeks of December, so you're going to have anywhere between 1 and 3 weeks notice between the interview invitation actually being received and your interview date. The invitation is going to be sent via email, which is going to include just about everything you need to know about your interview, such as dates, times, locations, and meeting room links, depending on whether it's in person or remote. One of the most important things that we have to stress is that you shouldn't wait until you get your invitation to start preparing for your interviews. We'll go through some of the preparation tips a little bit later on in the video, but it's crucial that you start preparing as soon as you can in the second half of the year if you haven't already. Let's move forward a bit now to the actual interviewing process. The first thing to note is that the interviews are not run by the university as a whole, but the college that you applied to. So that means that you're going to be meeting with representatives of the college rather than general university faculty. Oxbridge only hold traditional panel-styled interviews in which you will be speaking with 2 to 3 members of faculty from a college. Each interview will last roughly 25 minutes, during which time they'll ask you questions and provide prompts for you to lead discussions with them. It's not that different to a job interview, but where those will typically involve discussing previous work experience and other credentials, Oxbridge interviews can feature a wide variety of questions. You'll have your standard questions like why this university or why this subject, but the admissions tutors prefer to test applicants on more advanced topics related to the course that you're applying for. So these can be sometimes as blunt as providing a mathematical problem for you to solve, while some may require you to explain your thoughts and opinions on a certain topic. As well as these, there may also be some questions that seem to have no relation to anything at all, but they definitely do have a point. Moving back to the format, remember that you'll need to attend more than one interview during this period, so it isn't done just to waste your time. Each interview is specifically designed to test applicants on a specific area of the course. Let's have a look at Oxford PPE as an example. This course is split up into 3 primary subjects: philosophy, politics, and economics. Shortlisted applicants for the course will be invited to 3 interviews during their application, each one covering one of these 3 subjects. A similar thing can be seen in Cambridge natural science interviews, in which the typical applicant will attend 2, one for physical sciences and one for biological sciences. The divide isn't so clear-cut for every single subject, but it's important to be aware of what each interview will broadly cover. If you're interested in learning about the interview experiences of real-life Oxbridge students from a variety of subjects, the Big Book of Oxbridge Applications has you covered. It's got a full chapter on the interview process. It's filled with essential information, tips, example questions, and the aforementioned experiences. This is all part of over 500 pages that cover the entire Oxbridge admissions process from start to finish, and it's completely free to download from the link in the description. Now, on the day of the interview, you're either going to be heading off to campus, or much more likely, you're going to need to ensure that you're set up at an appropriate workstation. For remote interviews, you need to have access to suitable hardware, such as a good quality microphone and a camera, and more importantly, a stable internet connection. You'll also want to find a quiet space to complete your interview uninterrupted. For in-person interviews, your invitation is going to provide detailed instructions on how to find the venue, which will typically be located in the college that is interviewing you. In the event that your interviews are spread over a couple of days, the college will provide accommodation and food free of charge. Once your interviews are finished, there's not usually a great deal left to do until offers are released in January. Some Cambridge applicants may be placed into the winter pool, which essentially means that your application was rejected by your initial college but has been passed on to another. This may require a second set of interviews in January, but the majority of applicants won't be required to go through this. Other than that, you'll get your offer via email if you've been successful, which will then ask you to confirm and complete some forms. So, now that we understand the process, let's finish off with some tips for your interview preparation. All of your typical interview tips and tricks, like remaining calm, practicing via mock interview, doing research on your course and college, they all still apply here. But there are a few other things that Oxbridge applicants specifically need to consider. Firstly, you want to make sure that you're constantly reading. This should mostly be kept relevant to your subject, but it's crucial that you explore a wide variety of texts before meeting with the admissions tutor. Why? Well, if you're really passionate and curious about your subject, you'll likely find enjoyment in learning more about it. But from a purely academic standpoint, it's best to have a wide variety of talking points and subjects that you're really knowledgeable about. You won't be able to discuss everything that you've read, but having this range of topics available is going to help you table the majority of questions that interviewers might have. This also includes staying up to date with the news, which is especially important for subjects like medicine, law, and PPE. And remember that it's not just about what's happening, but being able to form a reasoned opinion on the topic while understanding the counter-arguments that other people might have. Being able to articulate those thoughts effectively is one of the most essential skills for an Oxbridge applicant, both verbally and in writing. When taking part in mock interviews, there are a few negative habits that you should aim to acknowledge and avoid when you answer questions. These include obvious ones, like don't use filler words like like, and but it's not just about what you say, but it's also about when to stop talking. Firstly, you need to know when to end your answer before you start rambling. These interviews don't provide enough time to explore every single point that you may have on an issue, so aim to be concise without cutting yourself off unnaturally. Beyond that, you don't have to launch straight into an answer either. The interviewers know that you aren't an expert in the field just yet, so you're allowed to take a few moments of silence to think about your response. This will help you provide a better answer, but it won't reflect badly on you either, as it demonstrates your ability to think on your feet in a calm and collected manner. It's really important for admissions tutors to be able to understand how you think through your reasoning and how you get ultimately to your solution. Now, there's so much more that we could dive into, but we're going to end things off there. Remember, the interviews are arguably the most important part of your Oxbridge application, so you're going to need to be prepared to make a good impression and prove your ability to the college. If you're looking for more advice on your interview preparation, be sure to check out our interview guides hub, which you'll find linked in the description. From here, you'll discover preparation guides, real-life example questions, and detailed recounts of the process from previous Oxbridge students and applicants. Our dedicated interview programs also provide comprehensive and personalised interview support that drastically boosts your performance and thus your chances of earning an offer. Finally, be sure to follow for even more videos about the interview process, and until that time, good luck.